in the cold silence of deep space. Captain Mira Holt sat alone in the cockpit of her ship, the Ironclad. The stars outside looked calm, but she knew better. Space was never calm. It only waited like a predator in the dark. Mira was a soldier once. She had fought in the border wars, seen fleets burn, and watched entire colonies vanish under alien fire. But that was years ago. Now she worked as a simple cargo pilot, moving supplies between outposts that most people had forgotten. She told herself she liked the quiet, but deep down she missed the storm. The hum of the ship was the only sound until the console beeped. Once, then twice. Mira frowned. It wasn't a normal alert. The light on her panel blinked red and gold. A royal encryption code. Royal signal detected, said the ship's AI in a calm female voice. Mira leaned closer. Royal? That can't be right. Whose frequency? Source, Zorth Empire. Priority Alpha. Mira froze. The Zorth, the same species that had nearly destroyed Earth's outer colonies. The same empire that had signed a galactic peace, accords only after both sides had lost too much to count. And the law was clear. No species may respond to royal or military distress signals from another empire. Galactic Law 47A. Violation meant arrest, exile, or worse. Discard it, she ordered. Not our problem. But the console didn't stop flashing. The AI spoke again, softer this time. Captain, the signal is marked as child class priority. That means a family emergency, Mira finished. Her voice dropped. Royal family. The ship's screen flickered with static. For a moment, Mira thought it was over. Then a weak, trembling voice broke through the noise. Help! Please, they're dying. We're trapped. It was high-pitched, frightened. Not an officer, not a soldier, a child. Mira leaned forward. Her breath caught in her chest. AI, can you clean that up? Boost the signal. The static cracked and cleared, just enough to make out more. The others are gone. We're hiding, please. Anyone, please? Then silence. Mira sat back in her chair, staring at the empty space ahead. For a long moment, she said nothing. The rules were simple. She couldn't respond. Every space captain knew it. The Galactic Council had made that law after too many rescues had turned into political disasters. Interfering with royal distress signals was considered a crime against order. Captain, the AI said, I must remind you that Responder will classify you as a lawbreaker. The Zorth Empire will consider it an act of aggression. I know, Mira whispered. Her mind flashed back to the war, to the faces of civilians, human and alien alike, crying out for help while soldiers waited for orders that never came. Don't interfere, Command had said back then. It's not our place. And because of that, thousands had died. Mira stood up, pacing the narrow bridge. Her boots echoed softly against the floor. AI, locate the signal origin. Coordinates point to the black zone, Captain. Unclaimed sector. Wreckage field. The black zone. Of course it was there. A graveyard of ships from the last war. Dangerous, unstable. Filled with radiation and broken machines. No one went there anymore. Any life signs? 3 faint signatures, Captain. Very weak. Likely non-human juveniles. Mira stopped walking. 3 children. She exhaled slowly, looking out at the stars. They're just kids, she murmured. Under the law, Captain, the AI continued, you must not respond. Yeah, Mira said, eyes narrowing. I've heard that before. She sat back in her chair, fingers hovering over the navigation controls. For a long time, she didn't move. The hum of the engines filled the silence again, steady and cold. Her heart pounded in her chest. Every logical thought told her to ignore the signal, to log it, report it, and move on. That was the safe thing, the smart thing. But Mira Holt had never been the kind of human who let rules decide what was right. AI, she said at last, her voice firm. Plot a course to the source of that signal. Captain, this action will be recorded as... Unauthorized, I know. Just do it. The engines of the ironclad roared to life, shaking the small ship. The stars outside began to blur as the ship turned toward the dead zone, a place no sane pilot dared to enter. The law had said no. The council had said no. The galaxy itself had said no. But humanity had never been good at listening. As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, Mira whispered under her breath, almost like a promise to the children whose voices had echoed across the stars. Hold on, little ones. Someone heard you. The lights flickered. The AI hesitated, then spoke quietly. Captain, may I log your reasoning for this decision? Mira gave a faint smile. Yeah, write this down, because it was the right thing to do. The AI paused. Noted. Outside, the stars stretched into bright lines of light as the ironclad crossed the border into forbidden space. Somewhere in the black zone, the children of the Zorth royal family waited, cold, scared, and alone. And though she didn't know it yet, Mira Holt's decision would soon change the course of the entire galaxy. The ironclad tore through the darkness, its engines burning blue against a black sea of stars. Captain Mira Holt stood at the cockpit window, watching streaks of light twist and vanish. The ship hummed beneath her feet, loyal and alive, like an old warhorse remembering its purpose. ETA to target zone, 8 minutes, said the AI. Any updates on the signal? Mira asked, still active but weakening. Life signs fading. Radiation levels high. Mira nodded, jaw tight. She didn't need to hear the rest. The black zone was a death trap. Every spacer knew the stories. Ships vanishing without trace. Strange energy storms eating metal whole. It was where the wrecks of the last war drifted, silent and forgotten. And now, that's where she was heading. The crew had gathered in the small command deck. There were only 4 of them besides Mira. Ren, the gruff mechanic with hands like steel and a heart to match. Lyra, the medic who had seen too many soldiers die young. Tane, a pilot barely old enough to remember the war, full of nervous energy. And of course, the ship's AI, calm, logical, always reminding them what not to do. Ren leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You sure about this, Cap? That place eats ships. Then we'll make sure it doesn't eat ours, Mira replied. He grunted. That's not exactly a plan. It's good enough for now. Tane spoke up, eyes wide. Captain, the Zorth won't like this. If they find out we picked up royal life signs, they'll come for us, Mira finished. I'm counting on it. Lyra frowned. Counting on it? If the Cubs are still alive, they'll send their best to retrieve them. That means we'll have company, and maybe backup if things go bad. Ren chuckled. That's one way to look at suicide. The AI interrupted. Warning. Gravitational field distortion ahead. Entering black zone perimeter. The cockpit lights dimmed as they crossed the invisible border. Space outside grew darker than dark. No stars, no light, only drifting shadows. Bits of old ships floated past the viewport. Broken hulls, melted steel, twisted engines. Ghosts of war. Radiation rising, the AI said. I recommend full shielding. Do it, Mira said. The hum of the shields filled the air, a low buzz that made the walls vibrate. Tane's voice trembled slightly. Captain, what if this is a trap? The Zorth could have left that distress signal to lure scavengers. Mira didn't answer right away. She stared at the wreckage ahead, the remains of a massive cruiser impaled against an asteroid. Its symbol glowed faintly on the side, a golden claw clutching a sun. That's the royal insignia. Lyra whispered. Zorth flagship. AI, scan for survivors. Detecting 3 faint biosigns inside the main hull. Minimal oxygen. Estimated survival time, 21 minutes. Then we don't have time for fear, Mira said. Prep the boarding suits. Ren with me. Lyra, keep the medbay ready. Tane, hold this ship steady, no matter what happens. Ren groaned. I hate boarding wrecks. Then it's a good thing I didn't ask if you liked it, Mira replied, fastening her helmet. They moved through the airlock, stepping into the void. The only sound was their own breathing, sharp and fast inside the helmets. The wreck loomed before them, massive, broken, and silent. The hull was torn open like a wound. Captain, Ren said, scanning the surface with his wrist light. Radiation spiking. This thing's a ticking bomb. Then we'd better move fast. They entered through a crack in the hull, floating through dark corridors filled with debris. Every object drifted slowly. A chair, a torn banner, the remains of what had once been a corridor of gold and glass. The royal cruiser had been beautiful once. Now it was a tomb. The AI's voice echoed in their helmets. Life signs detected 50 meters ahead. Multiple barriers between you and the source. Copy that, Mira said. Let's move. They reached a sealed chamber. The door was half crushed, but Ren pulled out a cutter and burned through it. Sparks flew in the dark. Inside, the air was thick with smoke and frost. 3 small shapes huddled in a corner, trembling, wrapped in tattered fabric. Mira floated closer, heart pounding. They were Zorth cubs, small, furred, and fragile. Their eyes were big and bright, glowing faintly in the dim light. One was clutching a broken datapad. Another lay still, barely breathing. Easy, Mira whispered. We're here to help. The smallest cub looked up, eyes wide with fear. Humans, it rasped weakly. Yes, Mira said softly. You called for help. We came. Ren knelt beside her, scanning the cubs with his wrist tool. They're alive, barely. Oxygen's almost gone. Get them back to the ship, Mira ordered. As they turned to leave, the wreck trembled. A deep groan echoed through the metal. Captain, the AI warned. Structural collapse imminent. You must exit now. Move, Mira shouted. They pushed off the floor, floating to the corridor as debris rained around them. A fireball erupted behind them, the shock waves slamming into their suits. Mira grabbed a handhold and yanked Ren and the cubs toward the airlock. Go, 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 she yelled. The ironclad's doors closed just as the cruiser exploded behind them, a silent bloom of fire in the void. The ship lurched but held together. The cubs were safe, barely conscious in Myra's arms. Ren gasped for breath. That's it. We're done, right? Mira looked down at the cubs, then out the window at the fading explosion. Her eyes hardened. No, she said quietly. This is just the beginning. Outside, in the far distance, red lights flickered. Zorth patrol ships entering the zone. They had heard the explosion, and they were coming. The ironclad's engines roared to life, shaking the small ship as it broke free from the blast wave. Inside, alarms screamed and lights flickered red. Captain Mira Holt stood at the bridge, still catching her breath inside her cracked helmet. Behind her, in the medical bay, 3 small alien cubs lay under dim lights, the royal heirs of the Zorth Empire. Radiation levels dropping, said the AI. Structural integrity stable. Crew status, all alive. Mira nodded, exhausted but steady. That's a first for today. Ren let out a low laugh from the corner. Barely alive counts as a win. The door to the med bay slid open, and Lyra, the ship's medic, looked up from the table. Her face was pale, her hands moving quickly over strange alien skin. They're in bad shape, Captain. Dehydrated, oxygen-starved, and She hesitated, scared out of their minds. Mira stepped closer. The cubs were smaller than she expected, maybe the size of human toddlers. Their fur was silver blue, shimmering faintly under the lights. One of them had a burn mark across its arm. Another kept its eyes tightly shut, trembling with every sound. The smallest one, the one who had spoken on the radio, lay silent but awake, watching Mira with wide golden eyes. "Names?" Mira asked quietly. "None spoken," Lyra said. "They don't seem to understand our language fully." The AI's voice came from the speaker. Zora translation algorithms activated, attempting linguistic match. A soft click, then a small, broken voice filled the air. "You human?" Mira leaned down. "Yes, I'm Captain Mira Holt. You called for help. We came." The cub blinked slowly. "You not Zorith?" "That's right. We're not." "Why?" the cub whispered. Law says no. The words hit her harder than she expected. Even they knew. Even children understood that the galaxy had decided their lives were not worth saving. Because, Mira said softly, sometimes the law is wrong. The cub stared at her for a long moment. Then its small clawed hand reached out and touched her glove just for a second before falling back weakly. Mira swallowed the lump in her throat and stood. "Lyra, keep them alive. Whatever it takes." "Yes, Captain." Ren frowned from the doorway. "You really think this is smart, Mira? You heard the broadcast. The Zorth patrols are sweeping the area. They'll kill us if they find we got their royal blood aboard." Mira looked out the window at the stars. "Then we won't let them find us." The AI interrupted. "Incoming transmission. Source, Galactic Authority Relay." Mira sighed. "Let me guess, they found out." The message came through as a cold, metallic voice. "Captain Mira Holt of the human freighter Ironclad. You are in violation of Galactic Law 47A. You have interfered with sovereign distress signals. You are ordered to surrender your vessel immediately." Lyra looked up, eyes wide. "They're serious." Mira walked to the comm panel, pressed the transmit button, and said only 3 words. "Not happening. Out." Then she shut it off. Silence filled the ship. Ren rubbed his face. "Well, congratulations, Captain. We're officially criminals." "Good," Mira said. "Criminals still get to make choices." In the med bay, the cub stirred. The smallest one coughed softly, curling closer to the others. Lyra injected a clear liquid into a small vial attached to their breathing masks. "This human serum should help stabilize them, but their bodies aren't like ours. It's risky." "Do it," Mira said. "They don't have time for politics." The hum of the ship felt heavier now. Tane's voice came from the pilot's seat. "Captain, patrols on long-range scan. 3 Zorth interceptors. ETA, 15 minutes. Ren swore under his breath. 15 minutes until we're vaporized. "Not if we hide first," Mira said. "AI, bring up the star map. Closest debris field. 4 light minutes ahead. Dense metal cluster. Could provide partial cover." "Perfect. Tane, take us there." Low power, no transmissions. The ship slipped into darkness, lights dimmed, engines whispering instead of roaring. They entered the debris field, a graveyard of twisted hulls and forgotten machines. The Ironclad nestled between 2 shattered cruisers, silent as a shadow. Mira stood beside the window, staring out at the floating wrecks. "All this," she murmured, "for a war no one remembers." Ren joined her. "You think saving these cubs will change that?" "Maybe not," she said. "But if no one ever tries, nothing will." In the med bay, Lyra checked on the cubs again. The smallest one stirred and spoke faintly. "Home, you take us home?" Mira knelt beside the table. We'll try. The cub blinked, confused. You risk death. Why? Mira smiled sadly. Because someone should. The cub closed its eyes. Humans strange. You have no idea, Mira said softly. Then the AI's voice returned, sharper this time. Captain, patrol's adjusting course. They're scanning the wreck field. They've detected us. Mira shot to her feet. Tane, full burn. Get us out of here. Engines flared as the ironclad broke from cover, speeding through the debris. Beams of blue plasma cut across the dark, exploding on nearby wrecks. The ship shook violently, shields down to 60%. Ren shouted, "Hold together." Mira yelled back. The cubs cried out as the ship rattled. One reached for Mira, terrified. She caught its hand, steady and sure. "It's okay. We've got you." The ironclad spun hard, slipping through the chaos. A blast grazed the hull, tearing a long scar across its side. Then, suddenly, silence. The Zora ships vanished from the radar. "They lost us," Tane said, gasping. "They actually lost us." Mira slumped into her chair, exhausted. "Don't celebrate yet. This is far from over." Outside, the stars shimmered faintly. Inside, the cubs slept, breathing easier now. Mira looked at them, then at her crew. "Get some rest," she said quietly. "Tomorrow, we figure out how to survive the galaxy's wrath." Ren sighed. "Captain Holt, savior of royal aliens and destroyer of peace treaties, has a nice ring to it." Mira smirked faintly. "I'll take it." As the ship drifted through the darkness, one truth hung in the air like starlight. They had broken the law. But for the first time in years, Mira Holt felt human again. The quiet didn't last long. Barely an hour after slipping from the debris field, the ironclad sensors began to scream again. Red lights washed over the bridge like warning beacons of doom. Multiple warp signatures. Tane shouted, "Zora patrols. 5 ships, maybe 6. Ren slammed his hands on the console. "You've got to be kidding me. We just lost them." Mira didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the star map, where 6 crimson dots blinked steadily behind them. "They didn't lose us," she said calmly. "They followed the radiation trail from our damaged hull." The ship groaned under the strain of sudden acceleration. Every panel shook as Tane forced the engines to full burn. "They're gaining fast, Captain." "Those aren't patrols anymore. That's a hunting pack." "Keep your focus," Mira said. "AI, how far to the nearest asteroid belt?" 2 light minutes, Captain. "Then that's where we'll make our stand." Lyra appeared in the doorway, pale and breathless. "The cubs are awake. They can feel the pursuit. They're terrified." Myra's expression softened for a heartbeat. "Tell them to hold on. We're not dying today." The ship jolted violently as the first plasma bolt struck the shields. Blue fire lit the cockpit like lightning. "Shields at 70%. Ren shouted, "Another hit like that and we'll start cooking." "Divert all power from non-essential systems," Mira ordered. "Everything goes to shields and engines." Ren hesitated. "Even life support?" "Especially life support," she said. "We'll breathe later." The ironclad roared through the darkness, engines blazing, weaving between the wreckage of old ships and shattered satellites. The Zora vessels followed in perfect formation, sleek, deadly, unrelenting. Their commander, somewhere out there, must have been smiling. Tane's hands trembled over controls. "They're hurting us, Captain, trying to push us toward the edge of the zone." Myra's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll surprise them first." "AI open comms," she said. "Channel ready." Mira leaned forward. "This is Captain Mira Holt of the human freighter Ironclad. To any Zord vessels listening, stand down. We have your royal heirs aboard. They are alive. Repeat, alive. Silence. Then a cold, sharp voice replied, filled with venom and disbelief. Human vessel, you will surrender immediately. Those children are property of the Zorth Empire. Return them or face destruction. Property, Mira repeated, her voice low and hard. You call your children property? They are royal blood. Their lives are ours to control. You have violated sacred law. And you violated something more sacred than law, Mira said. Mercy. She cut the transmission. Captain, that was not smart, Ren muttered. Now they know for sure it's us. Mira smirked. Good. Let them come angry. Angry pilots make mistakes. Outside, the stars vanished as the ironclad plunged into the asteroid belt. Massive stones drifted silently through the void, tumbling slowly in the cold. The crew felt every impact tremble through their bones as debris scraped along the hull. Stay low, Mira said. Use the rocks for cover. Keep our signature down. I'm trying, Tane yelled, sweating as he jerked the controls. These engines weren't built for stunt flying. Then make them believe they were. Mira shot back. Behind them, the first Zord ship entered the field. A flash of blue light filled the radar. Missile incoming, Ren shouted. Mira barked. Countermeasures, now. Flares exploded from the ship, dazzling like fireworks. The missile followed one, then veered off and detonated against an asteroid. The blast lit up the darkness. Then the rocks began to move. Oh, Tane muttered. Chunks of debris collided, starting a chain reaction. A storm of rock and metal began swirling around them, slamming into their shields. The ironclad shook violently, shields down to 40%. Ren shouted, This ship's gonna break apart. Not yet. Mira snapped, We'll use the storm to hide. Tane, cut the engines for 10 seconds. What? That'll kill our speed. Do it. The engines went silent. For 10 long seconds they drifted, weightless, invisible, lost in the chaos. The Zora ship scanned wildly, unable to find them in the blizzard of fragments. Now! Mira shouted, engines to full. Spin us under that asteroid there. The ironclad darted beneath a massive rock, just as a plasma barrage tore through the space they'd been seconds ago. The Zora ships overshot, confused by the readings. Mira grinned. Looks like they forgot humans don't fly by rules. Lyra stumbled onto the bridge, clutching a handrail. The Cubs are asking what's happening. Tell them, Mira said. Their rescuers are just teaching the galaxy how to dance. Ren laughed breathlessly. Captain, I hate how much I love your insanity. But the moment didn't last. The AI's voice cut through the noise. Warning, 2 ships breaking formation. They're flanking us. Myra's smile faded. They're learning fast. Suggestions? Ren asked. Myra's eyes narrowed. We take the fight to them. Ren blinked. You're talking about attacking royal cruisers with a cargo freighter? Exactly, she said. They'll never expect it. She slammed a button on the console. Arm the mining drones. What? They're loaded with plasma cutters. If they're meant to break rock, they can slice hull. The drones launch from the ship's underbelly. 10 small machines glowing red. They scatter like sparks into the asteroid storm. AI, remote detonation on my mark. The Zora ships close in, plasma cannons charging. Mira waited, watching the radar, calm as a void itself. Closer, she whispered. Closer? The enemy ships passed between the asteroids, right into the trap. Now! The drones exploded in brilliant arcs of plasma, cutting through rock and metal alike. The shockwave ripped through space, tossing the Zord ships off balance. One vanished in flame, another spun helplessly away. 2 down. Tane shouted. The others are retreating. Mira exhaled slowly. Good. They'll report what happened. Ren stared at her. Report what? That humanity doesn't run from laws written by tyrants. Outside, the debris field drifted quietly once more. Inside, Mira sat back in her chair, her heartbeat slowing. For now, they had survived, but survival came with a cost. The galaxy would remember the ironclad, and soon, so would the Zorth Empress. The stars were quiet again. Too quiet. The ironclad drifted through a stretch of empty space, its engines silent and dim. Inside, the crew moved like ghosts, exhausted, bruised, but alive. For now, Mira Holt sat in her command chair, staring at the blackness beyond the window. Her reflection looked older than she remembered. Pale, tired eyes framed by streaks of silver hair. War had aged her once. This mission was finishing the job. Ren's voice broke the silence. We're dead in the water, Captain. Shields at 20%, hull plating cracked. If those Zora ships come back, we're done. Then let's hope they're busy licking their wounds, Mira said quietly. Not just them, Ren muttered. The Galactic Council's probably rewriting the laws just for us. She didn't answer. She already knew he was right. Lyra appeared from the med bay, her uniform stained and wrinkled. The cubs are stable. The smallest one's still weak, but they'll live. Mira nodded. Good work. They asked about their parents. Lyra continued softly. I didn't know what to tell them. Myra's jaw tightened. Tell them the truth. Their parents are gone. Lyra hesitated. You sure, Captain? They've lost enough. Hope built on lies hurts worse when it breaks, Mira said. They deserve honesty. The room fell quiet again, the hum of failing engines filling the space between them. Then the AI's voice spoke, soft and mechanical. Incoming transmission. Priority level, Council authority. Ren groaned. Oh, wonderful. Here comes the law. A holographic image flickered to life in front of them, a stern alien with silver skin and 4 cold eyes. Captain Mira Holt, it said, under Galactic Law 47A, you are charged with interference in a sovereign distress matter. You are hereby ordered to surrender the Zorth offspring to designated retrieval forces. Mira leaned forward. And if I refuse, then your species will be sanctioned. All human colonies will be stripped of council protection. Your home world will be isolated. So that's the choice, she said. Save 3 children or doom humanity? The official's tone didn't change. Correct. Return the cubs. End this peacefully. Mira smiled faintly, but her eyes burned cold. Peace doesn't come from obedience. It comes from decency. You should try it sometime. She cut the transmission. The silence that followed felt heavy, almost suffocating. Ren rubbed his temples. You just doomed us all, Captain. Maybe, she said, but if obeying means letting children die, then we deserve what's coming. Tane, the youngest crew member, turned from the navigation console. Captain, I think you should see this. The main screen flickered. A news feed appeared. Council control channels already broadcasting the event galaxy-wide. Human captain kidnaps royal cubs. Galactic peace at risk. Myra's stomach turned. They're rewriting the story. Lyra frowned. They're saying we attacked the royal cruiser. Ren slammed his fist on the wall. They're making us villains. They have to, Mira said bitterly. The law must look clean. The lie keeps them powerful. The AI interrupted again. Captain, may I suggest sending a statement to counter the false report? Mira shook her head. No one will listen. The Council controls every broadcast. Not every, Ren muttered. There's an old mining relay outpost 2 jumps from here. Abandoned, but its comms array could reach a few border worlds. Mira turned to him. You're saying we make our own broadcast. Exactly. Tell the truth before they bury it. Lyra hesitated. If we transmit, they'll find us. They'll find us anyway, Mira said. At least this way. Someone out there knows why we broke the law. Within the hour, the ironclad reached a dusty, forgotten outpost. The metal station hung in silence, drifting around a dying moon. Power cells are barely alive, Tane reported. That's fine, Mira said. We just need one shot. They connected the comm cables, patched into the ancient array, and powered it up. Sparks flew, lights flickered, but the signal came online. Mira stood in front of the camera, wearing her battered captain's jacket, her face lit only by the faint blue glow of the monitors. Recording, the AI said. Mira took a breath. My name is Captain Mira Holt of a human vessel Ironclad. I am speaking to whoever still listens to truth. 3 days ago, we received a royal distress signal from the Zorth Empire. Galactic law said no one could respond. We did. We found 3 children, scared, starving, and alone, the last survivors of their ship. Her voice hardened. We are not kidnappers. We are rescuers. If the Council calls that a crime, then let them, because if mercy is illegal, then maybe the law itself needs saving. Wren smiled slightly behind the camera. Nice speech, Cap. Not done yet, she said. Mira looked straight into the lens. To any human who hears this, remember who we are. We are the species that ran into burning ships to save strangers. The species that chose compassion when others chose silence. They'll call us traitors. But one day, they'll call us something else. The first ones who said no to cruelty. She nodded to the AI. Send it. The transmission burst into the void, a single spark of truth racing through a galaxy built on lies. Moments later, alarm screamed. Captain, Tane shouted. They found us. Multiple warp signatures inbound, heavy cruisers. Wren cursed. That broadcast was a giant flare. Mira smirked. Good. Let them come. They'll have to hear the truth before they destroy it. The ironclad detached from the relay and shot forward, engines burning bright. Behind them, the outpost exploded under enemy fire, scattering debris across the stars. But the message was already gone, out there, spreading, unstoppable. Lyra looked back at the flames. They'll silence us soon. Mira stared ahead. Maybe, but they can't silence an idea. Outside, the void swallowed the wreckage of lies. And for the first time, the galaxy began to whisper. Maybe the humans are right. The stars were no longer silent. They were listening. Across outposts and colonies, from mining moons to forgotten stations, Mira Holt's broadcast echoed like a spark through dry air. Some laughed. Some called her a traitor. But many paused, just long enough to wonder if she might be right. On the Ironclad, the crew didn't have time to think about it. The ship shook again as another plasma blast struck the hull. Shields at 30%. Wren shouted, I can't take much more of this, Captain. Hold it together, Mira said. We're almost at the station. The station was a neutral outpost called Nymus, for a trading hub where no empire had full control. It floated like a rusted coin in the void, orbiting a dying sun. Mira had chosen it because no one would expect a wounded freighter carrying royal fugitives to hide there. Captain, Lyra said from the med bay, the Cubs are waking up again. They're asking where we're going. Tell them somewhere safe, Mira replied. Lyra sighed. You mean somewhere less deadly? Close enough. The ship broke out of warp, dropping into the Nymus system. The old outpost appeared ahead. Broken docks, flickering lights, a place that smelled of oil, smoke, and secrets. Docking in 3 minutes. Tane said, his hands tight on controls. We've got no clearance code. They'll shoot if they think we're smugglers. Then let's not give them time to think, Mira said. The Ironclad came in fast, engines whining and slammed into a docking ring. The metal shrieked, sparks flying, but the clamps held. They had made it, barely. "Cut engines," Mira ordered. "Full lockdown. Lyra, Ren, with me. We're taking the cubs inside." The airlock opened with a hiss. The stale air of Nimus, for hit them, thick with smoke, oil, and the stench of too many people surviving on too little. The crew carried the cubs wrapped in blankets, their silver fur dim under the station's dying lights. The station guard stepped forward, tall insectoid creatures with glowing red eyes. One raised a blaster. "No ships allowed without inspection," it rasped. Mira held up a small crate. "Cargo emergency. Medical supplies. You can check it later. Right now, I need a doctor for these children." The guard's antenna twitched. It looked at the cubs and hesitated. "Zorth younglings? They are forbidden." "Then arrest me," Mira snapped. "But if you let them die, you'll have to live with it." The creature stared at her for a moment, then stepped aside. "This way, human." They were taken into a dim chamber deep inside the outpost, where a tired alien medic waited, an old reptilian healer with scales like cracked stone. It hissed softly as it examined the cubs. "These are royal blood," it said. "You bring danger here." "I bring life," Mira said. "Can you help them or not?" The healer looked up at her, eyes glowing faintly. "I can, but if Zorth finds him here, the station dies." Myra's voice was steady. "Then I'll be the one they find first." While the medic worked, Ren patched the hull using scavenged parts. Tane kept watch on the scanners, muttering numbers under his breath. And Mira stood at the viewport, watching the dying sun burn weakly in the distance. "Captain," the AI said softly, "your transmission has spread to over 43 networks. Some human colonies are rallying to your defense." Mira frowned. "And the rest?" "Some demand your arrest. Others simply watch." "Typical," Ren said. "Half the galaxy's always waiting to see who wins before they care." Lyra entered quietly, wiping her hands. "The cubs will live, Captain. The medic says they'll recover fully." Mira smiled, the first real smile in days. "Good. They deserve that much." But the moment didn't last. The AI spoke again, tone sharp. "Multiple warp signatures inbound. Identification, Zorth Royal Fleet." Ren cursed. "They tracked us." "Time to impact." Mira asked, 8 minutes. Mira took a breath, then turned to her crew, everyone back to the ship. "Captain," Lyra said, "we can't fight a fleet. I'm not planning to. I'm planning to make them listen." Back aboard the ironclad, the crew strapped in. The station trembled as Zorth cruisers emerged from warp. Massive, golden ships blotting out the stars. One of them transmitted directly to Myra's console. The face of a Zorth admiral appeared, scaled, armored, eyes like burning coals. "Human captain," he growled, "you have committed crimes beyond forgiveness. Return the royal heirs or be destroyed." Mira leaned forward. "They're safe, alive, because we broke your law. You defy the council. You defy the empire. You defy." "I defy anyone who calls mercy a crime," Mira said. "If your law kills children, then humanity will never obey it." The admiral hissed. "You speak for your kind?" Myra's voice sharpened. "No, I speak as a human, one who remembers what it means to care." The transmission cut. Outside, the fleet formed a circle, weapons charging. Tane whispered, "They're going to open fire." "Let them," Mira said. "They'll prove my point." But before the fleet could fire, something unexpected happened. A second set of warp signatures appeared. Human ships. Small, unarmed transports, freighters, and patrol vessels. They positioned themselves between the ironclad and the Zorth fleet. Ren stared in disbelief. "Are they insane? Those are civilians." The comm crackled. A voice came through, rough, human, determined. "This is Captain Darius of the Sparrowhawk. We heard your message. Holt, you're not standing alone." More voices joined, overlapping. "This is the Erebus, the Long Dawn, the Clementine. We stand with humanity." The Zorth admiral hesitated. The law said destroy the human. But now, before the entire galaxy, the humans had shown unity, not through war but through courage. Mira stared at the stars, her voice steady. You see, Admiral, the law might be yours, but the heart of the galaxy beats human. The fleet withdrew, slowly, silently, and in that silence, the galaxy began to change. The galaxy would remember that silence. For the first time in 1,000 years, the mighty Zora fleet had withdrawn without firing a single shot. The laws that ruled the stars had cracked, not through war, but through a single act of compassion. On board the Ironclad, Captain Mira Holt stood by the viewport, watching the stars glitter across the Black Sea. The damage alarms were quiet now. The crew, exhausted and bruised, moved softly through the corridors. They had survived the impossible. Again, Ren leaned against console, arms crossed. You realize what you just did, Captain? Mira didn't look away from the stars. I broke every law that mattered. Ren chuckled dryly, and somehow made the galaxy think we're heroes. Not heroes, she said softly, just human. In the med bay, the royal cubs were awake, bright-eyed and alert for the first time since their rescue. Their fur had regained its soft silver shine, their breathing steady now. The smallest one, the same cub who had spoken to the static days ago, sat quietly, staring out a small window. When Mira entered, it turned and gave a small bow. You saved us, it said, even when your law said not to. Mira knelt beside the bed. Someone had to. The cub blinked. Why? You are not Zorth. You gain nothing. Maybe not, she said, but sometimes doing the right thing doesn't need a reason. The cub thought for a moment, then reached out and took her hand. Its claws were small and careful. Then our empire owes humanity a debt. Mira smiled faintly. No, you don't owe us anything. Just remember what mercy looks like. The intercom buzzed. Captain, Tane's voice called. Incoming transmission. It's from the Zorth flagship. Mira stood, patch it through. The face that appeared on the screen wasn't the Admiral this time. It was someone older, regal, and fierce, eyes like molten gold, wearing a crown of black crystal. Every Zorth across the stars knew that face. The Empress. Mira Holt, she said, her voice calm and heavy with power. You have something that belongs to me. Mira didn't flinch. If you mean your children, they're alive, safe, and not property. The Empress's eyes narrowed. You broke the law of the galaxy. I know, Mira said, and I'd do it again. There was a long pause. The bridge went still. Every breath felt like it could shatter the air. Then, to everyone's shock, the Empress smiled. Just a little. Good, she said, because laws that forbid compassion are not laws worth keeping. Ren blinked. Did she just... Quiet, Mira whispered. The Empress continued. The Council told me you attacked our ship, that you kidnapped my heirs. But the truth has spread faster than their lies. I saw your broadcast. I saw your humanity. And I have decided. She turned slightly, as if addressing the galaxy itself. The Zorth Empire withdraws its support for Law 47A. No more species will be punished for choosing mercy. Her gaze returned to Mira. You have changed more than you know, Captain Holt. And for that, I thank you. The transmission ended. The bridge went silent again, but it was a different kind of silence, the kind that hums with disbelief and awe. Lyra exhaled. Did the most powerful being in the galaxy just thank us? Ren grinned. Guess humanity's reputation just went from reckless troublemakers to reckless saviors. Mira allowed herself a rare smile. Let's not get used to it. The Ironclad limped toward a neutral repair station. Word spread faster than light. Of a human crew that broke a sacred law to save alien children. Of a captain who defied fear. And of an empire that changed because of it. All across the galaxy, whispers began to rise. Maybe the humans were right. Maybe courage was contagious. Days later, when the Ironclad docked for repairs, the crew stepped out into a crowd they hadn't expected. Humans, aliens, traders, and travelers, hundreds gathered, cheering, holding banners that read, "Mercy is not a crime." When the law said no, humanity said yes. Tane laughed, shaking his head. "We're famous, Captain." Mira just looked at the signs. "I never wanted fame." Ren grinned. Too late for that. Reporters, holographic drones, and representatives from dozens of worlds tried to reach her. But Mira didn't give interviews. She didn't give speeches. She stood beside the cubs as they reunited with their guardians, quiet, watchful, and tired. The smallest cub turned to her one last time. "Will we see you again?" "Maybe someday," Mira said. "But not yet." "Then what will you do now?" She looked up at the stars, where countless systems shimmered in the distance. "What humanity always does," she said. "Find trouble. Fix it. Argue about it later." The cub laughed softly, a sound that somehow felt like peace. When they left, Mira returned to the ship. The crew followed her inside, engines humming back to life. As they lifted off, the AI spoke softly. "Captain, you receive hundreds of transmissions. Many worlds are inviting you to speak before the council." Mira shook her head. "No speeches. No politics." "Then what should I tell them?" Mira smiled faintly. "Tell them we're just doing our job." The ironclad rose into black sky, its engines leaving a trail of blue fire behind. On the screen, dozens of messages flooded in. From humans, from aliens, from children who now believed the galaxy could change. And as the ship vanished into the void, the narrator of the stars might have said, "In a universe ruled by laws and fear, one ship reminded everyone that courage doesn't need permission, that sometimes the smallest act of defiance can rewrite the stars themselves, and that when the galaxy said no, humanity said yes."